What is up, friends? Welcome back to your girl's personal vlog channel. So I got some good news and I got some bad news for y'all. Which one you want first? I'm gonna just drop the bomb and give you the bad news. So the bad news is episode 2 of Growing in Confidence will not premiere today. But the good news is I do have a video for you, okay? See, God has been on me to start sharing my testimony, sharing the things that I've been through. I've been sharing my stories with friends here and there in voice memos, and they always been like, man, you need to tell that story. Like, you really need to share that with the world. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for all that yet. I'm not. But like I said, I've been out here trying to be the best daddy's girl I could be and the most obedient child of God I could be. And the same thing that has been being second voice with my friends, God has already been telling me. He been like, I need you to start sharing your testimonies. And then yesterday, it like hit me in the jaw because I was listening to what is it called? Glow Girl World. The leader of that, she does a Tuesday prayer, and in her prayer or her Bible study portion of the prayer, she was saying how your testimonies are not yours, they're God's. And I was like, oh snap. So I've been holding this to the chest like it's mine and it's God's. I'm supposed to give it away, like I'm supposed to give it out. So here we go. I'm stepping into the light. I'm stepping into the spotlight that is using this throat chakra and speaking up and speaking out and just telling my story. So this one right here was footage from the last week's vlog that I didn't put in because it would have made it like super long and I didn't want to do that. So basically what had happened was I was sitting here trying to do like a wash and go thing, like putting a whole bunch of product in my hair so that the curl pattern would stay. So while I was doing that, I decided to one, test out my microphone, and two, go ahead and share the story about the time I was homeless. Yes, y'all, your girl was homeless out here in these LA streets for about a year and some change. But she gonna tell y'all the story. I'm just giving y'all the, what is it? The prelude, prologue is after, right? So prelude is before. Giving you the epilogue. Look at me. I don't know my language. I keep telling y'all English is not my first language. I don't know what my first language is, and when I find out, I'm gonna be the first to tell you. But it ain't English, so don't charge it to my heart. Charge it to the game, okay? But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the testimony, the story about the time that I was homeless out here in these LA streets. Okay, friends, so Spirit has been urging me to share testimonies about my life. So while I'm doing my hair, because it needs to be done, I had at least 2 people ask me if I was locking my hair, and I'm like, no, I'm just being lazy and haven't done it in days. And OMG, if my hair is not locking, it is. It's locking. So hopefully y'all can hear me. I got this microphone on. We'll see. So let's talk about me being homeless in California. Okay. So basically, I had my own apartment up until about 2015, and what was I doing? Oh, I had an opportunity to take a trip to China. It was like a once in a lifetime opportunity. I felt like I couldn't pass it up. But in order to afford it, I didn't have to, but I just felt like it was necessary to give up my apartment because I wasn't going to be able to pay rent. And had been so many times already that I had been like late on my rent. And not like that, but like because I worked for schools, and I worked for schools as like an auxiliary staff, not like as a main teacher. When it came to summer months, I would always get behind in my rent because I didn't have work, and like I would be so hard working throughout the school year that I never had time to like apply for those summer program jobs until it was too late and they had already hired everybody. So yeah. Anyway, all that to say, I didn't want to be late on my rent with the lady again. So I just decided to let the apartment go. And I know that probably makes no sense to y'all, but it made sense to me at the time. So anyway, I let the apartment go and I let all my family know. I was like, look, I'm basically about to spend all the money that I have, to go take this trip, and I'm gonna need some support when I come back. And so my grandfather, who has always been like my financial um support, like he paid half my rent when I was in college. Like he just always, invested in me, financially. So he was like, don't worry, when you come back, I got your back. I help you pay rent and find a new spot until you get on your feet. Which really, I just needed help until like I started my job again in the school year. And then I would be able to, finance myself. So anyway, took the trip to China, came back. My grandfather was good on his word. He helped me pay at least like 1 month's rent because my friend, one of my close friends at the time, she had an apartment out in Van Nuys, and she was, looking for a roommate situation because the roommate that she had they was like going through some stuff. But what happened was I wound up staying with them while, the other roommate was still there, and she didn't really care for me. So she kept like making just the energy bad in the space. And I didn't feel comfortable. Now, if I don't feel comfortable in a place I call home, then you could best believe I'm not going to be calling it home for too much longer, right? So, anyway, all that to say, a few things happened. I was going through that with them in the house, and then my mom wound up going on a shame campaign about me and telling my grandfather how I wasn't using the money that he gave me for rent. And I was like, how could you say that? Of course I'm using it for rent. But either way, my grandfather believed her over me, and he stopped sending me money. So then once I started living there without paying rent, the vibes, the energy really got high, and, I felt even more uncomfortable. And so because I wasn't paying rent, I started like, taking on household chores. Excuse me. Taking on household chores. I was like doing the dishes, walking their dogs, just doing all like a maid, basically. I was their living maid. And that still didn't make a difference. She still had a problem with me not paying rent. So basically I had told my friend, I was like, I could always live in my car. Like, I'm not tripping. I've done it before. I do it again because I was homeless in Chicago before. I had to live in my car for like 2 weeks. So I'm like, if I could live in my car in Chicago, I could live in my car in California. Like, the weather's better. I can literally park my car by the beach and wake up at the water. Like, I could make it do what it's got to do. And she was like, no, 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 you can stay, blah, blah, blah. But the energy was getting too bad to the point where I was like, look, I gotta go. So I started living in my car in 2016. But what was I saying? Yeah, so I lived in my car before. So I'm like, I could live in my car again. It is what it is. And so 2016 that I wound up living in my car. And around that time, well, when I first started living in my car, I was still working. So what I would do was, it's crazy how I twisted my hair so that it wouldn't be tangled. But because I left these twisting for too long and they started to kind of lock, it's still tangled. It's all good. I'm doing this because I really just want to see my curl texture for once. I love my afro, don't get me wrong. But every now and again, I just want to see my hair curl up, Every now and again. Okay, so anyway, 2016, I wound up living in my car.
And at first, I was still working. I was working as a ballroom dance teaching artist for fifth graders. I was going to a couple different schools. Now, how I had it set up was I would wake up early in the morning. I got me a nice gym membership to like Gold's Gym. And then after a while, I realized the YMCA's out here are pretty nice. So I got a YMCA membership. But I started with Gold's Gym because I wanted a gym that had a pool and a jacuzzi so I could, relax and also warm my bones on days when it's cold at night. Because it gets cold here. It's a different kind of cold, but it's still cold nonetheless. So, anyway, I first started at Gold's Gym. Then I wound up going to the YMCA because they had a jacuzzi in the pool too. And basically, I would wake up early, go to the gym, do my workout, swim, jacuzzi, and then take my shower and get ready to go to work. And then same thing after work, I come back, either just take a shower or do another workout or work out if I didn't do it in the morning. And that was pretty much my thing. Now, at some point down the line, I wound up losing my job to the company I worked for, and they like just stopped existing as a whole. And from that point, I started doing Postmates full time basically, and lived in my car. So it was pretty cool because I could basically just, work in my own hours, my own time. And like I told one of my friends, I was like, for me being homeless, I kind of felt like, I was on vacation for an extended period of time, like having to go to the pool and jacuzzi every day, and then, working when I want to work and not working when I don't. It was just, it was freeing for me. And you're talking to somebody that's been working jobs since I was 12 years old. Like, I've always worked and had responsibilities from a young age. Like, when I got my first job, I would use the money to buy my school clothes and buy my school supplies. Because my mom was a single parent. So, I tried to help as much as I could to take, certain things off her load. Because she would just, vent a lot about having to pay bills, and I took it personal. So I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get a job, and if I do this, then she wants to do this and this, and I just kind of been like that ever since. So for me to have a time in my life where I wasn't working like that was like, oh, like I finally got a chance to take a break, and it was very freeing. It was very, what's the word, uplifting. It was just, it did a lot for me. Like, people hear you say you homeless and living in your car, and they're like, oh. But honestly, for me, it was a conscious decision. It was like, look, you could either, keep dealing with this stuff, or you could just live in your car and save your money. Because one of the thing we pay for the most out here is rent. So if I didn't have to pay rent, I could literally put the money I would typically pay for rent aside and save up to really, get the things that I want and be where I want to be. Right. So I decided to work Postmates full time and save my money. I got a storage unit where I put all my stuff, and it was basically like a big walk-in closet for me. I would go there, I would keep a little bag of clothes in my trunk. So I would have like enough clothes plus my swimsuit and towels and, toiletries and stuff for a few days. I don't want to have to go to my storage every day. That looks suspicious. But every few days, I would go grab me some clothes. I did my laundry on Sundays at the laundromat, like everybody else. Um, so the storage was also like where I kept my dirty clothes. And yeah, like it was a regular life. Like my husband say, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. So how I did it didn't raise no red flags. Like nobody ever knew I was homeless unless I told them, because I wasn't, advertising it, so to speak. And, I did it, I don't know, I guess in a civilized way, if you want to put it like that. So, yeah. And I want to say I was homeless for a few years, like, till I met my husband. My husband knew I was living in my car. I made that very clear to him in the beginning. But what was beautiful about that time was I decided to, park my car in Santa Monica. So I would literally like wake up by the beach or not far from the water, and I would spend time like in different parks, just dancing in the grass, because white areas just have nicer things. I hate to put it that plainly, but they have nice parks. Their beaches are clean. Like, I spent a lot of time out in nature and at the library, because the Santa Monica libraries are really nice too, and they have a great book selection. So when I wasn't doing Postmates, I would be in the park dancing, or just being in nature, or I would be in the library reading books, studying, growing my knowledge about things. So it was, like I said, a very freeing time for me. Of course, I told my parents and my family that I was going to be homeless, and they thought I was crazy. So I think also during that time, they stopped talking to me. They also thought I had lost my mind over this man, and little did they know, it was my idea. He was just following me because he too was, losing his place. And the story about the man is a whole nother story entirely. We'll talk about that another day. That was that story, or that testimony will be me as a domestic violence survivor. Because, yeah, it got toxic. But I had him with me, just for like safety, security purposes or whatever. But I really didn't need him. Hold on, I'm gonna stop talking while this train goes past. But more of the story is, I felt like me being homeless was God leaving me out in the wilderness to really learn how to like rely on Him and stop trying to muscle my way through everything all by myself. And I promise y'all, like when I got to my lowest point in that process, God showed Himself to me. I'm not gonna say like I saw His face, but He really like made it very clear to me that like I'm here with you. All you gotta do is ask me for what you need, and I got you. And so this was like around the time I finally got out of the abusive relationship. I was like on my knees in the backseat of my car, and I was crying and just wailing. And I was like, God, are you really gonna leave me out here by myself? Like, I really need, some help and somebody to like be with me. And I want to say during that time, I was also grieving because my grandma had passed. My grandma on my dad's side, she passed away in April of 2017. And so I had an opportunity to not be homeless anymore at that point, because my grandma had a whole house and nobody was living in it. And so I had asked my family, I was like, yo, like I have friends, that are looking for places to stay. I could have this whole house, like rent it out, and this could be income for us. I mean, for y'all. I didn't want the income. And then, I could be like the property manager, so to speak, and just have somewhere to stay. And I could literally sleep on the couch and, let them, the people that I find, my friends, to, occupy the rooms and rent the rooms. And then bam, not only are we keeping the house and the family, but it's, an income for us. And they didn't want to do that. They voted against me. I have two aunties, and my dad is the middle child. So my dad and my other auntie Marie, they voted against the idea. They wanted to sell it because they were just really money hungry when my grandma passed. Like they was out there when she was still in the hospital. They was fighting over the money she had in her account. So they wasn't about that life. But it was also the sense of like, let me live here because I've been out here on the streets this whole time, right? Now, mind you, they had actually got to meet the guy, so they thought like I was just crazy over this man, which that wasn't the case. But that's what they thought. So they didn't trust me, I guess, for lack of a better term. I feel like during that time, I really got like persecuted, like my name got dragged in the dirt, like. But it also really showed me, their true colors and how they really felt about me. And it's the saying is really true. Like the ones close to you don't always be the ones that have your, best interest in mind, want to see you be great or want to see you succeed. For me, that be the people in my family. So if y'all wonder why I'm not really close with my family, it's because I really don't know who I could trust. Um, as far as I know right now, my family is me, my husband, God, Holy Spirit, Jesus, and baby girl. Okay. Because everybody showed me their true colors during that time, and I'm grateful for it. Now I know. That's how I know. That's how I know. Okay. Um, but anyway, and this is not to all my family members because all my family members didn't know I was homeless at that time, but my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, like aunties, they knew, Um, and they thought in their minds it was like she did it to herself, so let her go through it type ish. And I get that way of thinking, but that really wasn't, where my head was at. So I don't appreciate that thought process when it came to me, but I get it. Like, I get how people could feel that way, but it wasn't me. Like, that wasn't what I was on. I was really just on trying to, like, help myself since I really couldn't get help from nobody else at the time. Um, but anyway, moral of the story, they wound up selling my grandma's house, which I was really sad about because like basically my grandma's house was the only like house I could say I ever like grew up in. And you always want to keep the family house in the family, right? But they wasn't about that life. And it's so sad because like I think they sold her house for $500,000 back in 2017. But now in this day and age, houses in California and LA County are going for like $1 million plus. So even if they would have just sat on it for a couple of years till I got on my feet, they could have way more money now. But they didn't see it that way, and that's neither here or there because it's sold. I drive past it a lot of times, and I can see that it's no longer, my grandmother's house. They completely changed it. So anyway, of course, y'all know I gotta go to the bathroom, so I'm gonna pause real quick. But more little story, I was out in the wilderness, you know, my grandmother had passed, so I kind of like lost it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I lost it when my grandma died. Like I kind of lost my mind, and so in that point of me losing my mind, I like went to God, like probably more open than I ever gone in my life, and that was why I went through that test because He really wanted me to like let it all go and give it to Him. And it was at that point that I was like, God, like I really need you. Like I can't do this anymore. And I want to say a month later, because my grandma died in April. In May, I met my husband, and I told him my situation. I was very upfront with him about who I was, and we just started a friendship. Like it wasn't even a romantic thing. Like he was just like, "Well, I see you in a situation. I'm kind of in a situation as well, so let's help each other." So my husband hired me. He gave me a job because at that time I was so kind of out of it that I couldn't work for people. I really couldn't even be around people. I was just so angry. Like that was how my grief manifested in anger. I was just pissed at the world. So, he let me work for him. I really only had to answer to him. Didn't really have to deal with people too much. It was just more about like being his assistant, his apprentice type thing. He had a tow truck business as well as a automotive shop. So I was just like, his secretary, his assistant, answer his phone calls, coordinate his pickups, drop offs, stuff like that. And then for my time, he also gave me a place to stay where, I could rest because I was so tired. Like, not to say I wasn't getting sleep because I'm short as ever, so I could sleep comfortably in a car just fine. And like I said, I would park in my car in Santa Monica where it was hella safe. I mean, like it wasn't no crime going on in Santa Monica at the time. It is now, but it wasn't then. Like I would also say I was homeless at the best timing, in life and what was going on in the world. So that's how I know it was designed for me. Not that God wants us to go through hardships, but sometimes we have to go through things to get closer to God. And that was like what I had to do. Like being homeless and going through all the stuff I went through, it literally broke down my armor and my defense, the walls that I had built up between me and God. And every little situation I went through just chipped away at that wall until that wall was completely destroyed and I could go to him openly and honestly. So yeah. So moral of the story. Sorry, I keep going off into different places, but basically my husband was like my knight in shining armor. Like he saved my life. He got me off the streets. He, taught me a trade, a business. I learned a lot about selling cars, towing cars. Like eventually I would love for us to get another tow truck. We had to sell the tow truck we had because it was like an 87. It was getting old. But I said we were gonna get a new tow truck at some point down the line because it was something I really enjoyed doing. And it really built our bond. Like the days me and my husband spent in the tow truck was where our love started to grow. Like where we grow from friends to like actual relationship. But like I said, it started as a friendship. And that's one thing I will say about marriage. If you're not friends with your partner, don't marry them because you need a friend at the end of the day. You don't need a love connection. Like I don't know, friendship. The friendship that me and my husband built together is just like the foundation of our love. And so I will always tell people if you ever come to me for marriage advice when it comes to relationships is friendship first. Like if y'all are not friends, then y'all shouldn't be together because at the end of the day, you're gonna need a friend. You are going to need a good friend that really understands your heart the way God do, and is open to taking the time to understand your heart the way God do. And that is what my husband did. That's why I know he is heaven sent, like God sent him to me. Um, so yeah, my husband saved my life, got me off the streets, and really showed me that like God hears my prayers and answers my prayers, but I just had to open up to speak to him. And that was what the whole point of that trial was for me, to open up to him. Because especially growing up Buddhist, like I was very closed off to him. I had a connection with him because I did have family members that would take me to church from time to time. And I always felt like church was like a really happy, safe space for me. Um, but also just, being completely engrossed in Buddhism up until like age 25. I still, was very arrogant about like I don't need nobody asking to, chant and bring myself up. And he was like, I'm gonna have to teach you that you need me to do what you really want to do in life. And that was the point of the exercise, okay? So granted, it took me about a year and a half to get the lesson, but I got the lesson. So moral of the story, don't try to be out here doing stuff without God. We need God. Like the word says, Luke chapter 18, verse 27. All things that are impossible with men are possible with God. Facts. Okay. What I thought I could only do with literally with a man, I did it better without him. Like I'll tell y'all the story about that one day. But basically, like, I was in my car living with this man, and then once I finally had it up to here with being abused, I left him, and I still was living in my car, and I felt more safe, more protected, and more in tune, and more successful, like financially making money and getting opportunities without the man than I did with him, you know? So literally taking that text, that scripture, and putting it into context here, everything that is impossible with man is possible with God. Okay? So with that, I'm gonna end the story. Y'all can see my hair when I'm done, because we ain't got time to be going through the whole thing. But I gotta go to the bathroom because I drank all this water this morning. And I'll see y'all when I'm done. I'll show you the end results, okay? Peace.
All right, friends. I hope you enjoyed this little like story time testimony thing I just did here. I plan to do more of these because, as I've said, God has been on me about sharing my stories. And I got a lot of stories to share. You feel me? So be on the lookout. And also be on the lookout for Growing in Confidence episode 2, because I am going to work on editing it and getting it done before next Tuesday. So it might be like a surprise drop. I want to have it done by Thursday. I'm going to be honest, but looking how my week is going already so far, it might not get done till like a Saturday, Sunday-ish thing. So either way, I'm going to try to have it out before the end of this week and hold me to it, okay? Like, if you got my phone number, send me a text message like, hey, did you get that vlog done? Hey, I'm going to need to see that vlog premiere soon. What's up? You know, like, hold me accountable for this. That's why I'm saying it to you. But in the meantime, in between time, thank you for tuning in this Tuesday. I know it wasn't what you was used to, but I'm glad that you still was with me, boo. Okay. I will see y'all sometime later this week. Okay. Love you much. Peace.